So we have seen in the last class the taxonomy of inheritances, right? The classification of inheritance. Right? Before that, we have seen how the constructors and destructors, if are there, they will be, rather taken care in inheritance, right? When the derived class object is created, how the base class, uh, constructors and destructors are being taken care by the derived class constructors and destructors, right? So this one first we have discussed, and then we have said that in constructors, the derived class constructor will inherit the base class, very similar to that of how a class is going to inherit the derived class is going to inherit the base class, right? The inheritance is going to be done with this kind of methods, right? The class at which you want to derive, you say colon and followed by the class which you want to derive, right? So if you have constructor in the derive, as we said, we need to have a constructor in the base as well, and the base constructor is going to be inherited like this in the derive. And if you have a destructor in the derive, then you must have a destructor in the base, and that must be virtual, right? So virtual keyword will be taken care by the system, by the operating system, to invoke the base class destructor whenever the derived class destructor is being called, right? So this is what we have discussed, and how it's going to be done here with different scopes we have seen. Let us say, for example, if I am creating a derived class object here, the scope of the object will be limited to the block in which it is declared. So when it is required to be accessed out of this particular block, you cannot access it since its scope is not available. Scope is nothing but a part of the text in which that particular object is visible, right? So what happens here when the scope is out, the destructor is being called, right? So first the destructor of the derived will be called, then thereby the base class destructor will be called, then the memory will be automatically associated with the particular derived class object belonging to both derived class and base class members will be free of, right? This we have discussed. And then we said the multi-level inheritance. This is single level only, which we have here discussed. This is a single level, right? Base is when inherited at one level, this will be single level. Now coming to multi-level inheritance, if you have a base class and this base class is inherited at derived 1, and then this derived 1 is inherited at derived 2, this is said to be multi-level because the base 1 is now inherited at 2 levels. That way we say it is a multi-level. So the scope of the base class members is restricted with the help of this visibility inputs, right? And the access specifiers that we define inside the base class, right? And that we have defined with the help of the particular table, of course, right? And coming to multiple inheritance, when you have more than one base class, let us say base 1 and base 2. If you want to inherit, both of these classes at a single derived class, how do you inherit? You say colon visibility mode base 1, comma visibility mode base 2. By separating it with a comma, you can have any number of classes to be inherited at a single derived class, right? And of course, the scope of these base members at the derived is limited with the particular visibility mode and the access specifier defined in the particular table. Coming to hierarchical inheritance, if the base class is inherited in a tree order hierarchically, then it is said to be hierarchical inheritance, right? Like for example, base is inherited at derived 1 and derived 2. Derived 1 is further inherited at derived 1 and derived 1. Derived 2 is inherited at derived 2 and derived 2, right? That way you can have in hierarchy. Hybrid is nothing but a combination of more than one type of inheritance, as we said, right? Like for example, base 1 is inherited at base 2 and base 2 is inherited at derived, let's say, and base 3 is inherited at derived. So if you have this is said to be single, and this is said to be multi-level, and this is said to be the multiple, right? Multiple. And then this is a combination of also you can say it is a hybrid, and this is here you can see it is a hierarchical. Base is inherited, this base 1 is inherited at base 2 and base 3, so this is said to be the hierarchical. So you can see all combinations are being visible in this particular example. Now we are trying to demonstrate the combination of such with the help of this example. You can see Here we have a single level and we have a multiple, right? So moreover, I can say this I can take for multiple example. So here in this example, what we are doing is we are having one employee class. So the employee class consisting of two members, e number and e name, with private scope, and read and print. You have two functions with public scope. Then you have a salary class with basic HRA, DA, PF, IT, CCA with private scope, and we have a read salary, print salary, public scope, right? Now, we want to inherit this employee class with private visibility mode, and this we want to inherit with public visibility mode, right? Why we want to inherit this with public visibility mode? Because I want these members to be directly accessible in this particular class. If I make this as private visibility mode, private or private cannot be accessed. Fine. So in this compute salary function, I have gross salary, net salary, and these are defined with private, because generally the data members will be defined with private scope and functions with public scope, of course, right? And here we have two functions, in data and out data. In data can call here read function and read salary function, and the out data is going to calculate the GS and NS by taking these ingredients here, uh, and then it is going to print, right? Print the employee details, and then print salary details and GS and NS. This is what we wanted to do it. Okay, I hope this is clear to all of you. Now we'll try to demonstrate this. So here I have given the formulas in order to calculate the gross salary and net salary. Let us say DNS allowance is 110% of basic, and HRA is 30% of basic. CCA is, let us say, 1250. Okay, and how do you calculate GS and NS? GS is basic plus DA plus CCA, and NS is GS minus deductions. Deductions are PF. PF is 1800. IT is 15% of GS levels. Okay, and now let us try to demonstrate this example. Fine. I'm taking online compiler here, GDB. My screen is visible, right? Yes. First one class I'm taking for employee here. Generally, when you are you writing the name of the class name, you start with uppercase letter. So if I do not declare the access specifier, by default it is private. Okay, int e number and e name here. That's what I say. Then I'm having two functions here, read function, and let's say I want to give the return type as void. You can define the code inside, or you can define outside as well. And let us define inside. What is that you want to create actually here? Imply number and name, right? So you can say enter. Imply number and name. So here I'm reading it with cin. Cin is a object of iStream class, and followed by the extraction operator. What it is trying to extract from console? E number and e name, right? E number and e name. So this is one function. Another function I want to have is the print function in the details of employee. So here employee number equal to single cout. I can probably print everything. Employee name, right? And name equal to name. Now terminated. So here I finished this class here. Now the next classes we have salary class, right? So salary class consists of basic. What is basic? The float, right? And chare, PA, CCA, AF, FT, TS, LS. Okay, fine. So these are the data members: basic salary, DA, HRA, CCA, EF, IT, GS, NS. All of them are float because they're representing currency. Currency is available in rupees and paisa. Okay. Now I have here two functions: void uh, read salary. Okay. Read salary. So here we're going to accept basic. The rest all being calculated using basic only, right? So enter basic instead basic salary. So this is enough. Next is in salary. In salary. Here you're going to print the details of salary here. So you're going to print basic first. And DA, and HRA, and then print CCA. then print PF in the next line. If you want to print the deductions, you can say deductions and then print. Okay. So deduction here. Next line, if you want to print, you can say backslash in here. Now you can print the PF. And you can print IT. Then you can print gross salary and net salary, right? So here, say gross salary equal to, or if you want to have GS and NS to be the members of the derived class, you can have it, and that way also you can do. Otherwise, okay, since I have taken here only their members, I can print it. Salary. So everything is printed here. Commit the continuous here. So you can see here now employee class and salary class are written. But then I want to have a separate class whose name is compute salary. Okay. Now this compute salary wanted to inherit both of the above classes, employee and salary. So here let us say employee class is inherited privately. I am not giving here visibility mode, right, before employees. So it means it is privately inherited. Now for salary, yeah, I actually wanted to have this GSNS to be the members of compute salary so that I can access. So that I'll do one thing. I just remove from here. Okay, remove from here because the way I just wanted to click and then achieve it with an example will not suffice if I do this. So let here only let here to print the remaining part you print to the derived class. Okay. So now I want to inherit salary publicly. So let's say public salary. Okay. So here, here I wanted to have this GS and NS. I want to compute the gross salary and net salary in this compute salary function, fine, by accessing the required parameters available in the salary, and I can make it here accessible by inheriting salary publicly. Okay, when I have inherited the salary publicly, these private numbers also have become private here. Private or public become private. So it is accessible here as well. So in the functions of compute salary, I wanted to access those parameters and then compute GS and NS. Okay. So now let us take the functions here. I wanted to have one function is to read the details of employee and salary note. So I'm having the function name as in data. Say. So this in data function is going to access read function. Read function is coming from where? It's coming from employee. See, this read is a public function of employee, but when it has been inherited privately, public or private become private, it means it is accessible within the class. It means within the functions of the class. So I can access, right? So read is accessible. And next is in salary, I have read salary function. So I can access even this function. So I'm just reading the details, okay? Number, name, and basic. Now I'm having another function called out data. And so this out data function is going to first compute the salary using the formulas that we have discussed right before. How we are going to calculate HRA and DA. DA equal to, we said 110%, right? 110 into basic, right? 110 of basic is by 100. And HRA equal to 50%, right? 50% of basic. And then CCA is equal to 1250, right? 1250.00, right? Okay. But here DA, HRA, CCA. See, DA, HRA, CCA, basic, all are the members of salary. Fine. But though we are able to access here in the compute salary, how come it is possible? How come it is possible? See, these are the private numbers. But then we have inherited salary class publicly. So this private or public has become private. So they are accessible here. So I'm able to access it, right? Then I have to calculate what? GS. What do I calculate as a formula? G is equal to basic plus DA plus HRA plus CC and NS. NS equal to NS minus, sorry, GS minus GS minus PF and IT. So here we have to calculate PF and IT as well. Let us take the PF value as mentioned 1800, and IT IT equal to 15% of basic, I said, right? 15% of gross we said, right? So after we calculate gross, we have to find the IT. Yes or no? After we calculate gross, we have to find the IT. So next to GS, right? So 15% of GS. So we have got deductions also ready. Now, now to calculate net salary, what we have to do, we have to deduct the deductions, subtract the deductions from the gross salary. So gross salary minus we have F minus IT. Okay, EF minus IT. Okay, now we've got gross salary and net salary. Now we can print this gross salary and net salary here. Okay, so we are able to print here. So equal to GS, net salary equal to NS, right? Right. So here you can see this function is terminated here and this class is terminated here. So let us look at the classes that we have written. Class employee in which we have enumber and ename as its member. Enumber is integer, ename is a string. Read function is trying to read the number and name here. Print is printing number and name here. We have salary class, which is consisting of numbers like basic, HR, DA, CCA, PF, IT. Read salary is reading the basic. Print salary is printing all the basic HRA, DA, CCA, PF, IT parameters, right? Which are ingredients of the salary. Then we have compute salary function, which is compute salary class, which is inheriting employee privately and salary publicly. Here we have JS and NS, two numbers. In data, we are invoking read and read salary. Read will read the employee details, read salary will read the basic, and they are ready. So after that, we can probably go for out data, where we are computing all the necessary ingredients required in order to calculate gross salary and net salary. Then we are printing the same thing. I hope this is clear. The example which we have discussed, we have tried to implement with the help of C++. Now we try to implement it creating an instance of compute salary from class, right? So here we have compute salary class. So here it is asking for the output. As you can see, it is asking for the inputs, right? Number and name, employee number and employee name. So you can give, let us say 15, employee number, and let us say Raju, employee, and the basic salary is not reading. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we are not reading basically actually. read salary. You identify, yes, you're not using seeing right here. Not reading, you see. Fine. How do you read? The help of seeing, right? We will not use here, seen anyway. That was a mistake. Now try to execute the program again. Yeah, here the semicolon is missing. DB was not declared. Oh, okay. It's giving me a mistake to print salary. Basic equal to basic. B capital. DAHRA. Yes. Do one thing here. Sometimes the line is exceeded. It's what yes. Okay. Basic was not declared in this code. Okay. just remove this function. Yes. Yes, now let us try to execute that. We're giving 25 and the name is, let us say, Rajita. Asking for a basic salary. Let us say basic salary is 8,500. You can see here the details are printed. Basic equal to 8,500. DA is calculated 110% of 8,500. 9,350, right? You can see here. HRA is 2,550. That is 30% of the basic, right? Then CCA is 1,250. Deductions we have PF equal 1,800. IT is 30% of the gross salary, right? And the gross salary is 21,650. Fine. So sorry, 15%. 15% of uh, gross salary is nothing but your IT, right? And then the net salary. Net salary will come with when deductions have been subtracted from the gross salary. I hope this is clear to all of you. This example. So what is that I have done is, in salary I have just taken the ingredients and I've read the only basic salary. This function, this all I am doing it in the uh, compute salary only, right? See, in compute salary, when I have inherited this salary class publicly, these protected numbers have become protected here. So I am directly accessing those numbers here and then computing their values and then printing all the details here in the outData function itself, right? Got it? Is it clear to all of you? See, now try to understand this, right? Execution. Here we are creating compute salary COB object, right? So COB is an object going to be created and compute salary object consists of how many members? Actually only GS and NS, you can say, right? GS is one member and NS is another member. Yes or no? If you see here, compute salary consists of only GS and NS. But then when you create an object of a derived class, compute salary is a derived class, right? Is inheriting both of these classes, employee class and you can see employee class comma salary class. This is what type of inheritance? Multiple inheritance, right? When you are inheriting multiple classes at a single derived class, is said to be multiple inheritance. So this type of inheritance is multiple inheritance. So now when I am creating an object of compute salary, that is COB, As I told you that the memory created not only for its own members but as well will be created for its base class members. What are its base class members? Employee consists of e-number, e-name, and salary consists of what? Basic HRA, DS, ECA, PFA. So all are there associated with this particular COB. Got it? So it means COB not only consists of GSNS, like how here, only GSNS, but as well it will have e-number and e-name, right? Which are coming from employee class members. And since it is inheriting salary class as well, salary class members memory also will be created with this COB, right? Basic HRA, DA, CCA, PF, and IT. Okay. Now what happens? You have in data function being called there, right? So COB. But in data is in turn calling what? You can see in data is calling read function and read salary. So the read function is when called, what it is doing, it is reading e number and e name. So I have inputted some value like 25 and Rajita, right? So that has been placed here, right? And then read salary function is called, right? So that read salary function when called, it is reading basic. Basic I have given 8,500, yes or no? So that is inputted here. Then now, after this, what is happening here? You can see after the read and read salary function, this is being invoked through the in data. You are calling out data here, right? You are calling out data. So when out data is called in out data, what is it you have? You have to compute. You are computing DA, HRA, CCA, PF, GS, IT, NS. So all these, ingredients are being computed and they get some values here, right? So once they get some values here, the same you are printing here, right? The same is what you can see here, the output, right? In the output, right? Uh, yes, I hope this is clear to all of you.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is the multiple inheritance example. Similarly,
Sir,
yeah,
sir, in out data, how this e number and e name is getting printed, sir?
yeah, in out data, I mean, we have not printed e number and e name actually. We have to print actually. To print that, what is that we have to do? We have to call what? Print function, right? We have not done
Right.
that.
Mm.
Yeah. So yes, it's a good question. We have not done that. I'll add it. See, in it out data, we are printing only basic HRA D and only. So that is what is being printed here. E number and e name is not printed. You can see. So in order to print that, what is that we have to do? We have to call this print function. Okay. So I'll do that here before this basic. Okay. I'll call the print function. Oh, let us execute. Save it. Now, uh, let us say 45 is the roll number, employee number, and then let us say Sam is the employee name, and the basic salary, let us say, is drawing 34,567. Now you can see employee number and name also. Yes, because we are now,
Yes, sir.
yeah, we are calling print function here in our data. So first it is printing the employee number name, then it is printing basic HRA and all kind of thing, right? Yes. So I'll give some assignments. Okay. Time is already up. In next class, probably I'll give you some assignments on inheritance, or I'll publish it in the classroom. Tomorrow, you try to work out those examples in online compiler and submit the same in the classroom. Okay. Any doubts here? This is multiple. All of you, please type your roll number in the chat box, please.